War Lost of Waco, I feel like it's gotten a lot of attention, good attention. I feel like people have gave great encouragement. But there is another side to the War Laws of Waco that I feel like is going to be appropriate to kind of put out, and that is a response to what I've seen on social media, what I've seen on the media, on the news, about the recent uproar of the NFL protesting. I've stayed very silent about social justice, race issues, even though that's probably what is inside of me 20 hours out of the day, is what's going on in our country, the divide between black and white people. It's sad. However, being a follower of Christ, I believe that he's called me to be a light to this world and someone that could help bridge the divide between Caucasians and African Americans.
Or even majority and minority.
Yeah. And it's tough because I don't like to rock the boat. I don't like to stay a position because you put a target on yourself and then you open up yourself to comments that could potentially make you even more mad at the insensitivity of people. And I'll just be really frank. It hurts. It hurts to see the lack of empathy, the lack of understanding when it comes to what is the heart of what African Americans are doing, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the NFL. But I'll speak for myself. The best conversations that I've had with my Caucasian friends are the ones where they come wanting to understand what is behind these protests. Why are you so angry? Why are you so passionate? What is it that you want people to hear? And I think what gets me the most is the blindness, specifically in an NFL situation, where you have the president of the United States, call NFL players sons of bitches and can get away with it. You're attacking an entire race for exercising their right. That doesn't make sense to me.
Exercising their right peacefully.
Peacefully.
When people choose to loot and vandalize and destroy property, they're considered animals, ignorant, foolish, stupid. But when people choose a peaceful protest, they're called outside of their name publicly by the leader of the free nation of the world.
And it's not only it's not only the NFL, but you have President Trump attacking basketball players, revoking invitations to come to the White House. I've been on Facebook and I've watched these statuses I've read these statuses, and people are all openly admitting that they are racist under these people who I'm friends with, under their statuses. Tell them to go back to their ancestors or to their country where they came from. You're openly admitting you're racist because of a protest? I might be getting off subject.
Well, something you said earlier, I forget, you said something to the effect of the world that you live in as an African American male. It was something you said that basically reminded me of a situation that happened when we were talking about building before the Lord brought us a house. We went to the neighborhood that we were looking to build in, and it was a subdivision, very, very nice subdivision, definitely upper middle class, but it was an area that we could afford to build in. And it was something we were seriously considering. So we went to the model home where we could meet with the sales agent to find out, what models, what options we had. So we got there, and, for lack of a better word, we were looking very ethnic. We didn't, tone it down for
Had
comfort
basketball
level.
shorts on.
I was in very natural hair state. Bird was very natural hair state. But it was an impromptu decision to go. So we go, and we get ready to speak to the sales agent, and she asks us our budget, and I start to share our bottom line budget, and I was getting ready to give her the range of, we want to start here as high as, and before I could even finish my sentence, she said, well, there's a really nice complex about 1.5 miles down the street. If you go down, you make a right, like you can get a lot for your money. And I didn't want to overreact, but I couldn't believe what was happening. And I always, whenever this happens, I look at Gary to see if he's reacting, because sometimes I do overreact, but I look at him to see if he's reacting. I could see the rage in his face, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm not crazy. This is outlandish. We all know what was happening. Pretty obvious, even for the biggest dummy. Pretty obvious. So we were a little livid about that. And so we went to our life group a couple weeks later, telling them about what happened. And they were just completely blown away. I mean, they were turning all shades of red. They were just so confused. And I remember someone made the comment of, wait, what? Like, I couldn't even comprehend it. And so by this point, we were laughing it off, joking about it. And we made the comment of, we weren't dressed the way we would normally dress to go somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And one of the group members says, I hate that you even have to think about that before you go. And when you were saying that, that's our reality. Like,
that's what we live in.
We have to think of those things beforehand. We don't have the choice to forget our race. We're reminded every day in some way, shape, or form. And that's just one example.
That's just one.
Just one example of we're trying to get a house. Hard workers, good credit, just trying to get a house.
And one thing I feel like God spoke to me very clearly about 3 months ago is, as I'm wrestling with, Lord, how do you want me to be a light in this social justice chaos? As I want to show my support of the Black community, but I also, Lord, don't want to run off or make Caucasian people upset or offend them. And I felt like he said very clearly, remember Joshua. And in Joshua, he told them, I'm not coming to fight on your side or on your side, but I'm here fighting for the army of the living God. And I feel like that's my stand. It's not a black and white thing. First of all, I'm not black, I'm brown.
Bird would tell you that.
my
in the sun.
My white friends
she would say
are not white. They're Caucasian. First of all, let's change the subject, the language. Second, think about who the enemy is. Satan is having a field day right now. Satan is having a field day. This is the most racial tension that we've had since 1960. You have the president of the United States calling people out of their name. It's not Donald Trump. It's Satan.
Yeah. Hear what he's saying.
Trump,
we do not battle against flesh and blood,
but the principalities of the air.
They use anyone who's willing to be used to cause division, to cause hate, to cause hurt, to cause pain.
So this is not, my beef is not against Donald Trump. My beef is against the enemy that's using a platform, the United States of America, to cause even more division. It's not a black and white thing. It's a spiritual thing. Take a step back. And think about
it. Are you making disciples? Are you loving the Lord God with all your heart? Are you loving your neighbor? However that looks. Take a step back to find out.
Empathize. The best conversations that I've had with people that are from a different race is when you literally try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. What are you going through? What are you feeling? Help me understand. Help me understand why people are taking a knee during the national anthem.
Somewhere along the way, we have elevated the Constitution over the Word of God. That's scary. We've elevated a country over the heart of our God. What is the heart of our God saying?
What are the two greatest commandments? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind.
And love your neighbor as yourself. Is the status you're writing, the stance you're taking, the opinions you're forming, honoring to Him? Are they edifying the body?
Take a moment. As Christians, it's not an emotional thing to love. It's an ethical thing. So if you're a believer and you're watching this, we hope it stirs something inside of you. I'm ethically called to love Donald Trump. Ethically. To pray for him. And I'll continue to do that. I'll continue to pray for my country. We have someone several months ago called people very fine men or whatever. There may not be a paraphrase, but the people in Charlottesville, the supremacists, very fine men. And you call athletes out of their name. Imagine if you were that people group being called out of your name. Telling them to be fired. Telling owners. It sounds very much like slavery. Let's be honest. Those owners to fire them. What?
Take their livelihood from them. Take their food. Take their water. Take their provision. Take it.
Unless you sit down and you actually have a conversation with someone from a different race, and feel free. I've had multiple conversations because I feel like I've been given the opportunity, but more so given the responsibility to be that bridge. As much as I don't want to at times, it's not about me. There's so many struggles growing up, thinking that I'm less than, having to prove myself, having to make sure my speech is just right to be accepted. Take a second. And if you really want to understand what's behind these protests, talk to someone. Talk to them.
To seek understanding.
And not
to prove someone
not to prove
wrong,
a point,
but to truly seek understanding. And it's very easy, and I mentioned this, being in academia, going through college, going through law school, a very conservative Republican environment. It's very easy to think that you have the world figured out. But when you haven't been exposed to very much outside of what looks like you, thinks like you, talks like you, and acts like you, you do not have the world figured out. You can't. We don't have it figured out. But we've had a lot of exposure to things, people, places, environments that do not have our perspective. It's very easy to think you have the world figured out when the only perspective around you is your own. Speak with others to understand, not to prove a point.
Yeah. Very disappointed at my timeline. Disappointed. Not at the unbelievers. And I'll do my best. We'll do our best in this journey, because expect more videos like this. Let's talk about this.
Our opinions out.
Yeah.
Not sitting on it anymore.
I can't.
We can't.
So let's talk about it.
That is a big a part of Relationship Clinic.
Huge report, yeah. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to reach out. Or Lost to Waco.